Tonight, Donald Trump on trial in a fraud lawsuit that could cost him control of his real estate empire. The accusations.
Donald Trump and the other defendants have committed persistent and repeated fraud.
And the indignant presidential candidate.
They're trying to damage me so that I don't do as well as I'm doing in the election.
Post-pandemic prize.
Today is a great day for health, a great day for science, and a great day for vaccines.
A Nobel win for the pioneering scientists who paved the way for the COVID-19 vaccine. Plus, survivor songs.
Sharing that burden and sharing these stories kind of made us closer than we've ever been.
An Indigenous artist strikes musical success, inspired by his grandfather's residential school stories.
I've been home down these empty halls.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening, everyone. Breaking from past practice, Donald Trump was in court today for a civil trial that will test his claims of extreme wealth and success and could drastically put a dent in his personal fortune.
Very simply put, it's a witch hunt, it's a disgrace.
The ex-president was seething on day one. New York's Attorney General is seeking $250 million in penalties and a ban on Trump doing business in New York, accusing him of inflating the values of his properties by billions to secure better terms from lenders. The judge has already ruled the former president persistently committed fraud. Now the case enters on what the penalty should be. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbin on what's at stake.
Arriving in his motorcade, the former president didn't have to appear in a New York court, but with his brand and control of his real estate empire at stake, Donald Trump turned his fraud trial into a political event.
It's a scam, it's a sham. Just so you know, my financial statements are phenomenal.
The judge has already ruled Trump, his eldest sons and associates overinflated the value of their assets, properties like Trump Tower and Mar-a-Lago, and lied on their financial statements to get better interest rates and bank loans. New York's Attorney General.
Donald Trump and the other defendants have committed persistent and repeated fraud. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how much money you think you may have, no one is above the law.
She's suing Trump for $250 million in penalties. Trump could not only lose control of his prized properties, but also be banned from doing business in New York. In court, clearly agitated Trump's very image as the successful business tycoon that helped launch him into the White House is at risk. Outside court, Trump insulted the judge, attacked the Attorney General, calling this a political hit job.
This has to do with election interference, plain and simple. They're trying to damage me so that I don't do as well as I'm doing in the election. Our country's gone to hell.
Trump already faces 4 criminal trials in the coming year over classified documents and trying to overturn the election. The Republican frontrunner insists he's innocent, sitting through hours of opening statements. He told reporters,
Mr. Trump, why do you want to be here in person today?
Because I want to watch this witch hunt myself.
And he'll be back. The state plans to call Trump as their final witness in a trial that's expected to last 3 months.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Joy Malvin, CTV News, Washington.
The United Nations Security Council has approved the deployment of an armed multinational force to Haiti, led by Kenya, as the country grapples with rampant gun violence. More than 200,000 people have been forced to flee. It's the first time a force will be deployed to Haiti in nearly 20 years. 2 scientists whose breakthroughs paved the way for COVID vaccines received one of the most prestigious awards in their field. Here's CTV's Creason Adjukate on the newest Nobel Prize winners.
Most have never heard of mRNA technology, a critical key in slowing down the pandemic. But 2 lead scientists whose work helped enable the fast development behind mRNA COVID vaccines have been awarded the Nobel Prize in Medicine. Dr. Katalin Kariko and Dr. Drew Weissman are being recognized for saving millions of lives and reducing the disease burden, allowing the world to open back up.
I was the RNA person and Drew was the immunologist, and we educated each other.
Carrico says their work during the 1990s on mRNA technology wasn't taken seriously or ignored.
We've been thinking for years about everything that we could do with RNA, and now it's here.
The messenger RNA starts with a genetic code that carries instructions to the body's immune system to produce the right protein and target the COVID-19 virus. Researchers are now seeing if the same method can be used in other areas.
Everything from autoimmune diseases, multiple sclerosis, HIV, cancer.
While working in Europe and the US, Carrico was repeatedly denied funding for her research, demoted, and even fired several times. The World Health Organization applauded both scientists for not giving up.
Today is a great day for health, a great day for science, and a great day for vaccines.
Experts say the award highlights that stronger commitments should be made to fund scientists. Dr. Carrico is now the 13th woman to receive the award.
She had her science rejected from very significant and major journals, yet she persisted because she had a good idea and she was good at what she did.
The Nobel Prize in Medicine not only brings global recognition for their many years of hard work, but also a $1 million cash reward. Omar.
All right, Creason, thank you. U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is fighting for his job tonight as hardline members from within his own party try to oust him.
I have enough Republicans where at this point next week, Kevin McCarthy won't be the Speaker of the House, or he'll be the Speaker of the House working at the pleasure of the Democrats.
Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz has filed a motion to remove McCarthy 2 days after McCarthy passed a bill with the help of the Democrats to avert a government shutdown. McCarthy responded to Gaetz' efforts online, saying, "Bring it on." Back in this country, there will be a rare mid-session vote tomorrow to determine who will replace outgoing Speaker of the House Anthony Rota, who resigned after praising a man who fought for the Nazis in Parliament. CTV's Judy Trin on the race and who is in the running.
8 candidates vying for one of the most pivotal positions in Parliament.
This is a job that is prestigious, but you get also a lot of responsibilities and a large staff of more than 2,000 people.
Among those who want to be Speaker of the House, the 38th since Confederation, are these 5 Liberals, 1 Conservative, 1 NDP, and a Green. The role comes with a $92,000 salary bump on top of an MP's base salary of $194,000. The Speaker also gets a house in the Gatineau Hills and a modest apartment. But the Speaker is chosen from a party and has to be non-partisan.
Understand the role of the House as not being part of the government, not being part of the opposition.
Parliament's immediate priority is to restore trust in the role 10 days after this.
He's a Ukrainian hero, a Canadian hero.
A Second World War veteran who fought with the Nazi unit honored. A failure of vetting that forced Anthony Rota to resign. Stephen Chaplin was legal counsel for the House of Commons for 12 years. He expects candidates to pitch how they will improve the screening of guests.
The Speaker speaks on behalf of the House. Perhaps it should be an individual that they pass by, for example, all the House leaders at least.
Other factors are also in play.
Madame Sauvé was escorted to the Speaker's chair by the Prime Minister and the official leader of the opposition.
There hasn't been a female Speaker since Jean Sauvé was named in 1980. After 4 decades, MPs could vote to put one of these women in the chair. Parliamentarians could also make history and vote for a person of color. Rota can also cast a ballot, but even after he's replaced, he will have to mend relationships within the Liberal caucus.
We'll see whether, he finds a cozy home in the Liberal caucus or the tensions are strong.
Tomorrow, MPs will vote by secret ballot and rank their choices for Speaker to restore shine to a tarnished role. Omar.
All right, Judy, thanks. Voters in Manitoba head to the polls tomorrow. And as CTV's Manitoba Bureau Chief Joe Makishon reports, there are signs history could be made.
In battleground Manitoba, polls are showing the provincial New Democratic Party leading over the Progressive Conservatives. The Manitoba Liberal Party is a distant third.
I think the trends are looking in the right direction for the NDP and a pretty tough slog for the Tories.
Progressive Conservative leader Heather Stephenson took over after former leader Brian Pallister resigned in 2021, becoming Manitoba's first female premier.
How do you do? I'm Wab Kinew.
NDP leader Wab Kinew could become the province's first Indigenous premier. He's been opposition leader since 2017.
And what I would say to Heather Stephenson is you've called this election. So come and campaign on the issues that Manitobans want to hear about, like healthcare.
Kinew has focused his platform on healthcare, promising to hire hundreds more workers and reopen emergency rooms in Winnipeg closed by the Conservatives. The Liberal Party, with just 3 seats in Manitoba, will have to fight to keep what they have.
Look, we can hold our own seats, and I'm looking forward to picking up some more.
The Progressive Conservatives are promising tax cuts, and their leader says maybe even a cut to the PST.
When we get back into government, then, down the road. But for right now, we're focused on income tax reductions, which have already been announced, and the payroll tax as well.
Manitobans are concerned about inflation, gas prices, housing prices, and access to health care.
Just like though healthcare and cost of living are kind of the 2 big national issues, those are really the 2 big issues in this election.
Another issue dividing voters, the search of a Manitoba landfill for 2 Indigenous women murdered and missing. Families and advocates have been fighting for months to make it happen. Stephenson has said there's no guarantee of discovery. She said it's dangerous and could impact the health of searchers. The NDP supports it.
Are you willing to put $184 million and Manitoba workers at risk for a search without a guarantee?
The PCs are trying to use this issue to divide us.
Manitobans will have their say October 3rd, Election Day. Jill Makishon, CTV News, Winnipeg.
A family friend of the couple killed by a grizzly bear in Banff National Park this weekend says the timing, location, and presence of a dog could have impacted the outcome. CTV's Nicole DiDonato explains.
A frightening grizzly bear attack that killed a couple and their dog could have been predatory, according to a family friend and wildlife expert.
That bear or the carnivore is going to see that dog as another carnivore and a threat to themselves and their young. Often the dog will go back to the owners, and then they get attacked because then the bear sees them as an additional threat.
The experienced hikers were camping in a remote part of Banff National Park on Friday night when they were fatally confronted.
We really don't know what happened or how they dealt with it, and I'm sure they did the best they could.
Parks Canada received an alert from a GPS device around 8 p.m. indicating a bear attack in the Red Deer River Valley west of Yaha-Tinda Ranch. A specially trained Parks Canada team hiked in overnight as poor weather prevented a helicopter rescue. Around 1 a.m. they found the couple and their dog dead and encountered an aggressive grizzly bear nearby. They killed the bear on the spot to protect the public. The Red Deer and Panther Valleys from Snow Creek Summit east to the national park boundary and north to Shale Pass remain closed as a safety precaution until further notice.
This is a rare occurrence, but I guess it's an example of how things can happen, and we are in bear country.
A human wildlife conflict biologist says surprise encounters with bears are even more likely right now as they are hungry and bulking up for winter hibernation.
There's a real good chance the bear perceives you as a threat to taking that away from them, and that's when they can start exhibiting, defensive, aggressive behavior towards your presence.
Parks Canada says it will reveal more details about the gruesome confrontation on Tuesday. Nicole DiDonato, CTV News, Banff National Park.
A Philadelphia journalist and advocate for LGBTQ+ rights and homelessness was murdered inside his own home by an armed intruder. 39-year-old Josh Kruger was shot 7 times in the chest and abdomen before he collapsed on the sidewalk while seeking help from his neighbors. His work built on his own personal experiences living with HIV and experiencing homelessness. Coming up, a fall run for Canada's Boys of Summer.
We think we're better than what we've shown, so I think that's motivation to show that.
The Jays slide into the playoffs hoping for redemption from a season of stumbles. Plus, a history-making vault by the Queen of the Tumbles. Canada's only Major League Baseball team is in Minneapolis tonight preparing for their biggest games of the year. The Toronto Blue Jays meet the Minnesota Twins tomorrow in Game 1 of their best-of-3 playoff series. And while the Jays squeaked into the playoffs, they're hoping to make some noise in the postseason. CTV's Rahim Ladani reports.
The boys of summer are standing tall in October, and Jays faithful are confident the team will deliver in the upcoming Wild Card series.
They're going to kick their butt.
I think they'll do good. I think it's a better draw than the Rays.
And a high drive to deep right field.
The Jays wrapped up the regular season over the weekend, losing 2 out of 3 against the Tampa Bay Rays.
Congratulations to you all. Let's go.
But they still popped bottles of champagne after the game, knowing they're in the postseason and will now face the Minnesota Twins.
This can be looked at as a positive for the Blue Jays here. They finished the season series against the Twins tied at 3-3, but at Target Field, they did take 2 out of 3 games.
The team's success will likely hinge on their pitching, which has been amongst the best in the league, and their offense, which has been less consistent.
They've been this weird Jekyll and Hyde team where our expectations were so high, and they weren't really met in the regular season.
I think the underlying attitude with everybody was that we have what we're capable of to win.
Be who we are. Go out and do whatever it is that our team knows how to do, and we'll see what happens at the end of the day.
Fans hoping the team takes care of business on the road so they can watch them play in person at home.
You get it in the city. It's been beautiful weather too, so you got that baseball feeling, and hopefully they can make a run.
And they'll need to score plenty of runs to push deeper into the playoffs. Rahim Ladani, CTV News, Toronto.
Still ahead, the unstoppable football force.
He was an absolute living legend.
Remembering George Reed, a life full of grit and determination. One of the CFL's most dominant figures on a football field has died at the age of 83. Running back George Reed was a cornerstone of the Saskatchewan Roughriders and shattered records. But he was much more than a gifted athlete who broke through tackles. He also broke down barriers. Here's CTV's Britt Dort.
The CFL is mourning the death of one of the greatest to ever take to the field after former running back George Reed died on Sunday.
Legend gets thrown around a lot, but that's exactly what George was. He was an absolute living legend.
He is regarded as the greatest rushing back in CFL history.
Reed's illustrious career spanned 13 seasons with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He's a Grey Cup champion and the league's all-time leader in rushing touchdowns.
For George Reed, whenever we showed him on TSN and he would go to all the games, we'd say that is football royalty. It's a different level.
Reed attended Rider games right up until his death from his dedicated number 34 section, the very number he wore and the team retired. Outside of Mosaic Stadium, a statue to honor Reed was erected back in 2017. His strength and tenacity on the field was matched by a profound impact off of it, fighting for racial equality and leaving a legacy for a new generation.
He was deeply committed to our fans and always gave back to our fans. And then, obviously supporting his causes through the George Reed Foundation, Special Olympics.
In 1975, the George Reed Foundation was formed to assist people with physical challenges. In 1978, he received the country's highest honor, the Order of Canada. In 1984, Reed was inducted into the Canada Sports Hall of Fame. Years later, in 2019, the street outside of Mosaic Stadium was changed to George Reed Way. Back in 2020, CTV News interviewed the 9-time CFL All-Star as he was motivating himself to stay in shape following 2 back surgeries.
Trade anything, afford anything else. It's just a matter of trying to work and trying to get strong.
Reed passed away just 1 day shy of his 84th birthday. The Saskatchewan Roughriders plan on honoring his life and legacy at their game on Saturday. Britt Dort, CTV News, Regina.
Basketball superstar LeBron James says his 18-year-old son Bronny is making good progress as he recovers from cardiac arrest.
He's on the up and up. It's definitely a whirlwind and a lot of emotions for our family this summer. But the best thing we have is each other.
He says Bronny began his rehab process in hopes of playing for the University of Southern California this season. He suffered the cardiac episode during a workout in July. And American gymnast Simone Biles is making history yet again, becoming the first woman to land the highly complicated Yurchenko double pike vault at an international competition. The highly difficult maneuver will now be named after the 19-time world champion as Biles 2. After the break.
Where do we go from here?
An Indigenous singer's powerful message, inspired by his grandfather.
Grandfather, I think we read the spirit. I'm sure I was gone all these years, chasing all these different years. I was gone.
Inspiration comes in many forms. For one Indigenous singer and songwriter, the love of family. In particular, his grandfather, who was a residential school survivor. In tonight's Indigenous Circle, CTV's Donna Sound explores a soulful journey, bridging past and present.
I've been home down these empty halls.
A powerful voice that hits all the right notes.
So let me hold you like you're the old you.
Asanabi is a journalist turned musician. He's also self-taught.
There was a guitar, I just started writing songs and I started singing, and I remember being so nervous that I wouldn't even sing in front of everybody.
He's Oji Cree from the Sandy Lake First Nation, a remote fly-in community in northwestern Ontario. Another hit single, Nomads, reached #1 on alternative radio.
This is my debut record, and for it to kind of get all the accolades and stuff is wild.
His new EP, Here and Now, delves into Indigenous love and loss, exploring the impact of colonization on Indigenous love in this country, saying this country never made him feel worthy of love, and in turn, never made him feel worthy of the love of another.
Growing up around that normalization of just treating Indigenous people less than, it does something to you.
Songs guided by his grandfather, who influences much of his music. A residential school survivor, Asanabi listened to and recorded his stories.
Sharing that burden and sharing these stories kind of made us closer than we've ever been. And it's just amazing to me because he's always been like the strength in the family and the rock in the family.
His debut album, Watan, was nominated for a Juno.
And I used to cry.
Asanabi honored his grandfather at his Juno Awards performance. Nominated in the category Contemporary Indigenous Group or Artist of the Year. Asanabi will be hitting the road on a cross-Canada tour with a stop in Nashville. Donna Sound, CTV News, Toronto.
Beautiful voice. And that's a snapshot of this Monday. Sandy is here tomorrow. For all of us at CTV National News, good night.